Welcome back to One on One with Mr. U. Of course, I am your host, Mr. U, in studio with us. Good buddy of mine, dedicated financial advisor and advocate for families around the country. Bill Walters is in the house. I guess I better add tax guru as well. You do a lot of stuff, man. But thanks for joining us, Bill. How are you, brother?
I am blessed and grateful. Thank you for the opportunity to meet you and your faithful followers.
All right. Same here, brother. Glad to have you in the box with us today. We had some incredible conversations. Not sure we have time to get into all of that. We'll do our best. Customarily, I always ask our guests when they come in. The first and the last question is the same for everybody. But first question right out of the chute, Bill. Tell us about your childhood, your upbringing, man. Tell us about what was life like for young Bill.
You know, young Bill was raised with the expectation from earliest I can remember of not if I was going to college, but when I was going to college.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So it started from earliest memory around 3, and it was just assumed that education elevates. And so my parents believed that it's a game changer, and there wasn't an option of what, it was where. And they didn't care what major. They just knew that they wanted me to go to college.
Wow. I want to talk about that phrase, education elevates. I want to ask you about that because I come from a family, and my mother, I thought I shared it with you, but perhaps not. I know it's been shared on this show before. There were a lot of things I want to do. 3 things specifically I wanted to do in life. My mother was not on board with either one of the 3 of them. I wanted to be I wanted to be a baseball player for the New York Yankees. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to go into arts and entertainment and be an actor and soap operas and stuff. And I also wanted to be a musician. All those things were pretty fervent in the area where I grew up in New York City, but she wasn't down with that just because they weren't, I guess, ideal career choices. Didn't have the stability and the kind of comfort that you want to have. And from her background and her work ethic that she grew up having, I kind of get why she wasn't too good with that. But you said education elevates. Tell me how you feel about education now that you're seeing things that are going on in our world regarding education and schools and colleges. Do you still feel the same way about it, that education elevates, or do you feel like it does, but with some exceptions?
So the one thing that society can't take away from you is your ability to learn, whether it's
Okay.
in the library, whether it's at a college or university, whether it's starting out at a community college so you can afford it, and then eventually going into a larger university. It's what you could afford to do, but everyone is capable of learning and overcoming. And with that degree comes the responsibility of seeing something through to the finish. It's not necessarily where you start, it's where you finish, right? So if you start at a junior college, if you start at a trade school, as long as you complete the act, that's step 1, right? Because then you become a problem solver. Step 2 is finding what you do and what you love and meshing them into your career so that it's not a day of work, it's a day of fun, and you're helping others achieve their goals and dreams, right? So I'm a firm believer in education. My dad was a school teacher in Camden for 32 years, and everybody started off with an A. And that's what I learned from him. That they started out with 100, and he always made it possible for them to get an A to see what success tasted like, right? That someone was in their corner. They wanted them to succeed. They wanted them to have a spot where they stood out in the spotlight. And it's imagine just sprinkling that pixie dust, the stuff that you see walking around the hallways of that show Fame, where everybody got that pixie dust on their
Oh,
head.
goodness.
Yeah. And all of a sudden they blossomed because they were properly fertilized and supported, and they were given an opportunity to show their skill set. It's a beautiful thing. So yes, education does elevate.
See, Mom, that could have happened to me. I could have got picture dust on my head. I could have blossomed. See,
Yeah.
Bill even said it, Mom. See, I knew I was right. All right. Well, I want to ask you something because I know I have a lot of people who listen to our show, people who I know that I'm very friendly with. They, I won't go as far as saying that I agree that they said college is a scam. I'll just back off of that a little bit.
Okay.
But But what I want you to do, this is tough and this is maybe not in your wheelhouse, but I want to kind of make you uncomfortable just a little bit and
Okay.
actually speak to the people who may feel like, okay, with college and asking for the high loans and interest and all the things that potentially put you in debt. What would you tell somebody who has some concerns about that? Would you offer a different option for them, or would you kind of explain the value of it and help them see college in a different way? What's your approach if they're listening right now? Which one would you pick?
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing I would recommend is that when you're in that 16-year-old range, is to take an aptitude test
Okay.
to see what you want to do or what you're capable of doing based on that test. Now, I'm not saying standardized tests are fair, but an aptitude test is fair, right? And it can guide you to a career choice. You don't have to choose the career right then and there at 16, but it gives you what your skill set is at that point, and it can sort of guide and direct you, whether it's the trades, which is great because there's always a need for a plumber, electrician, a carpenter, a somebody that builds things, an electronics expert, going into IT, creation of games, and these are just little things, right?
Right,
But
right.
if you excel in math or science, there's so many directions you could head into short term, like a county school, okay? And where you're going to be in, and it's not easier at a county school because older learners are in a county school, right? Or a community school, and they're more seasoned and more focused. And you'll find that the competition is better at a community college than it is as a freshman dorm because there's all those distractions, and it's going to teach you how to study, how to compete from moment one. So when you transfer to a larger school and you only take classes that will transfer to your school of choice, you're not starting out in a household of debt of 200 to 300,000. You're starting in debt 50,000, 100,000, right? So
Wow.
it's all good, right? And that all comes full circle about planning properly for college and financial planning for college, whether you as the parent want to help them or if you want them to have skin in the game so they actually respect the grade, right? But it all comes to mindset, positive planning, and positive results.
I love that, man. You're definitely a positive person. I can tell just from our conversations that you just have a strong passion for families. I'd love for you to share, if you don't mind getting into it a little bit, some of the adversities you experienced when you were younger and the things that you saw kind of, with your family and how you dealt with that. Because I feel as though those are the stories that they just mean so much because a lot of folks, and not you per se or anybody like that has been on my show recently, but in the podcasting community, there's a small number of people who they come on to shows and they guest on shows and they want to show you all the highlight reel. They want to show you all what they've done well, how they're in the top 0.5% in this category, or they've made X amount of dollars for corporations or corporation and things like that. But I like the stories behind the story because it shows the depth of who you are and how you got to where you are. And I think people who are watching and listening, we need to hear that because there's a whole bunch of easy, uh, get rich quick, uh, microwave options out here in the world around us in TV, media, radio, you name it, even in podcasting as well. So I'd love to hear if you don't mind sharing some of your story about your mom and your childhood and everything, and how you felt when that was going on, and the steps you took to kind of, I guess, I would say overcome, but you get what I'm saying. How you
Sure.
manage that and how you move forward. Go ahead.
So when I was 3.5, it was discovered that I had hip dysplasia. For those of you
Hmm.
who don't know what that is, it's that your hips aren't formed properly in their sockets and they just pop out. So in other words,
Wow.
they become dislocated. You can't walk. And back in the day, in the in the late 60s, early 70s, the treatment for hip dysplasia was bed rest, 8 weeks. And bed rest back then meant literally sitting in a bed upright or in an L position. And every time you needed to go to the bathroom or have the station changed on TV or to get a book changed out for you, you had to ring a bell to get mom's attention.
Hmm.
just so that you can be helped to the bathroom, because you weren't allowed to put direct weight on your hips. Otherwise, they could be dislocated again. So between the ages of 3.5 and 8, I dislocated my hips 6 times.
Oh
All
my
six,
goodness! Wow.
yeah, all 6 times I had to relearn how to walk and get my balance. So I wasn't allowed to participate in any jarring sports. So I wasn't allowed to play Little League and slide or play football or do any type of activities that had jarring in it until my hips grew strong enough to hold the ball in its socket. So when I went into high school and never ran a step in my life, and the coach said, "How would you like to be a part of a winning team without having the pressure of participating and being counted on as a freshman?" I was all in. And so I got permission, and they didn't imagine I would do anything. And believe me, I stunk as a freshman. Uh,
Mhm.
and it was little by little, and through practice and hard effort, that my times grew and got better and better. And by my senior year, I was, in South Jersey, one of the top 10 runners in South Jersey. But it was through hard work, right?
Wow.
And dedication. And if the doctors would have seen what I've accomplished, mind over matter, they would have
Yeah.
not believed it, because I'm not supposed to be doing that, right? I should be happy just walking, let alone
Mm.
run.
Wow.
Now, at the same time, it was through my mom and dad's upbringing that they helped me foster this relationship about love and kindness. And so when my mom um, was put into my caretaking, her final 6 years of her life, she basically was going on a ramp down, meaning that she had Lewy body dementia and Alzheimer's. And so the best was in her past, and I had to learn in those 6 years how to take care of her. And that's removing fall risk, having a bed alarm, medicine allocation and alignment, uh, enjoying taking her to the doctor's office and getting the truth instead of what she remembered, uh,
Oh.
putting up hand and lift rails throughout the house, making everything level on one floor, finding, home care aides from church to come in and take care of her and get paid and
Right. Right.
get organized, right? So we're doing all these things for her betterment and well-being, and keeping it organized and methodical. And what I could tell you is those 6 years gave me the ability to reduce a consultation with a person to 10 minutes, so they don't have the same learning curve that I had. So my learning curve out of labor and love was reduced to 10 minutes in consultation with people, so that they can create a safe haven for their parents.
No, I love that, man. It's commendable, brother. I love hearing that, man. I knew there was a story there because you just have such empathy and a heart for the kind of work that you're doing. And every time we talked, you talked about, how you talk to the families that you serve and how much you want to be a help to them. And I could see that, I see kind of where that comes from, what you experienced and everything. I know we don't have a whole lot of time left. We're already at the halfway mark already, but I want to try to get into some things that you've been doing. Uh, you consider yourself a financial guru. I know that out here in these streets, the term guru doesn't have a very positive connotation, but kind of explain to us what you're doing and why you feel like you are a guru in the area of finances. Go ahead.
So in the world of taxes, right, I teach people how to retire income tax free. That means what they earn, what they save, Uncle Sam doesn't get a part of it. So being a tax guru means that I am in your court, I'm your coach, right? And I essentially teach people that no matter where they are in their walk of life, I meet them without judgment. And I say, hey, doesn't matter how much you save, it's where you save it. And if you save it it should grow income tax free. So when you need it and you pull it out, your silent partner, which is Uncle Sam, doesn't have to get their share. It grows income tax free. And in the current, there's a way to lower your taxes in the current so that the less you pay in taxes, the more you save. The more you save, the more you could put away. And it helps you grow, right? It helps you grow long term and short term, right? Because you want to lower your taxes for this year, but you also want to lower your taxes 5, 10, and 15 years from now.
Oh, I love this. I love this. All right. So I think we had a better understanding of what you've been doing. I'd love for you to share. You talked about some of the valuable lessons that you learned now being in education. You thinking about textbooks and literary work and things that you read. But you said, from what I'm hearing from you, if I understand that right, you're saying that you learn more from life than you did, even though your education minded, you learn more from life than you did from textbooks. What's some of the valuable lessons that you learned that you think are valuable to share today?
So my mom and dad were very practical, and they taught me this thing called the shoebox method of savings.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
And they created, so I started cutting lawns at age 8. And by the age of 18, I was up to around 80 lawns a week. And so
Wow.
when I took the lawn money home, I had shoe boxes, right? And I would cash the checks in the cash and literally in my house. And now you could do it online, but it's better in the house, right? I had shoe boxes labeled truck payment, college savings, entertainment, and then I had the different categories, right? And then every check I would have or cash every day I would come home, I would put it into the different boxes. And then at the end of the month, I would say, okay, and I would deposit that into the bank. And then I knew that that money was meant for my car payment. And the next money was meant for savings for college. And the next, so I knew how to divide up my income, both in the physical sense and the mental sense. I knew how much was there for savings, which is really important because that's just one quick lesson, right? The other quick lesson is the word that people shudder. It's called budget.
Oh
It's
my goodness.
it's a
Yeah.
6-letter curse word to many people because they lead themselves through paycheck to paycheck, and it's really not the right way to live. Now, I'm not saying you're denying yourself food, and I'm not saying you're denying yourself coffee. What I'm saying is that the essentials to keep your house running, you have a list. And then how much are you going to allow per month for entertainment? How much are you going to set aside for the vacations? Yes, and I said set aside for the vacations with an S, right? So that you could take vacations but not charge it to your card, right?
Ooh.
And how much are you going to save? And what's the right amount? Is it 10%? Is it 15? Or is it the real number, which should be 20? Where you set aside 20% of your check, paying yourself 20% of the money coming in into savings for the future, building up a nest egg, so to speak, and 6 months savings for emergencies. These are essentials.
I love this. I love this. This is very good. Uh, are you able to share? I know you had an awesome success story in one of your clients in the Midwest. But do you have a success story you can share, and maybe perhaps a cautionary tale that you can share to kind of let folks know if you don't do certain things, this is what could happen? Can you share one of each, if that's possible?
Yeah, I can share one of each. So I have a personal friend, and we'll just put it as he has a membership club, and you have to
Okay.
pay to be a member.
Okay.
And this individual is living hand to mouth, meaning that no matter how many people is signed up, all the new coming members coming in, it's immediately going out the back door, meaning
Mm,
lifestyle and no savings are taking place, right? And the problem with that is, and this is the lesson for the current, is that whatever you're taking in as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, new business owner, only 10% of that money should be earmarked for marketing. 10%. You're not chasing it. 10%. I'll say it 15 times, 10%.
10%.
Because the other 90% has to go towards monthly bills, allocations, and saying no to discretionary spending and charging on your credit card, right? So if you want to go speak at a public situation to draw more clients in and become their coach, well, that's great, as long as it fits under your 10% budget. And if it doesn't, and 10% budget is not only what it costs to be on that stage, but the airfare and the travel and the meals, everything has to fit under that 10%.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, a success story. I have a client that is from the state of Texas who was in some credit card debt and had to get organized. And I gave her step-by-step instructions on how to get out of trouble. Now, I didn't expect this, but 18 months later, I get a call from her saying, I'm ready. And I'm like, I'm ready for what? She's like, I followed your instructions and you were right. I'm out of debt. I did the snowball thing. It's called a snowball effect where you pay the debts down, right? I did the snowball thing, in her words. And now I'm credit card debt free. I have 6 months worth of savings. And now I'm ready to move forward with my own business and get a line of credit and do these things and start preparing for retirement, et cetera, et cetera. So she followed the instruction. And the best part of all of this is I gave her this advice and help for free. I didn't coach her and charge her. I didn't say it's going to cost this much because I just wanted her well-being to be well, right? And be mentally clear and able. So she got coached. She followed the instructions, and 18 short months later, she was ready to be helped to hit her goals for retirement 25 years later.
I love this, man. Sounds simple, man. She was ready for it, and she received coaching, and now look what's happening. Sometimes it is just that simple.
Yep.
I love this. I have a few more questions. I'm gonna try to see if I can squeeze them in before we get out of time here. But you mentioned snowball, and it made me think about a conversation that you and I had off air regarding a certain financial / budgeting guru that you had some really strong feelings about.
Yes.
Let me know if you want to get into that. If not, we'll move on to our next question.
We'll get into that. I'm happy to debunk.
Go for it.
So there are a lot of financial advisors who do not have the authority or the license to give advice. One of the said people's name is Dave Ramsey.
Oh,
Dave Ramsey is a great budgeter, okay, and a talk show host. Tremendous. And so if you follow his instructions up to age 50, you'll be debt-free and your house will be paid off. But when you retire, you'll be living off of Social Security. And the way it looks like right now, in 2035, the Social Security will be bankrupt. So then how are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to clothe yourself, right? There's a better way. So it's okay to budget and follow streams to budget, but ultimately you want to change your mindset from scarcity to abundance, okay? And now Mr. Ramsey is not a financial advisor. He doesn't have a license. He sells airtime to advisors, okay? But ultimately, when you plan for your future, savings is really important, but saving in the right area is the key. And that savings is tax-free savings, not called a Roth. And you want to accumulate as much as you can in that world of tax-free accumulation so that when you do retire, you can live the best version of your life.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that, man. All right, just a couple more questions. Now, you co-authored a couple of books, The Equation and Cracking the Success Code. Can you tell me why you're proud of these?
You know, I didn't think I was much of a writer. I had to be coaxed into doing it. And, you know, after people read it, it said that it inspired them, that they didn't know the struggles that I went through as a child or with caretaking of my mom. And and that I kept it under my hat. I didn't tell many people about it, and they're like, "No, you should tell people about it because people can then have empathy with you because they're in the same situation." So it gives people hope if it inspires them. If it just inspires one person, then it did its job.
I love that, man. I would think those two books helped a lot of people out because we need financial and management advice in these areas where we can, man. But great having you on. Before we ask our last question, I want everybody know where they can find your work, man. Everything's in the show notes. The link to schedule a 15-minute discovery call with Bill. I highly recommend that. If you have questions about your finances, excuse me, questions about taxes or how to manage either one, or you just have some desires to be debt free, he's offering a 15-minute discovery call. I think you should. I highly suggest you take advantage of that. Uh, the link to that's going to be in the show notes. And of course, you can find him on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram under Perfectly Imperfect Family, or on LinkedIn, Bill J. Walters. So definitely give him a look. And at the end of the show, I have you speak a little bit to that if you'd like to. But my final question for you, Bill, it's our CMV question. Every guest that comes in the box gets this one. CMV for career, mission, vocation. Taking everything that you've done off of the table. I prepped you for this, so you have some time to ponder the answer. So everything that you've done up to this point, financial advisory, everything that you've done, taking it off of the table. What do you think Bill would be most likely doing right now had it not been for all these other things that are going on in your life right now? What would you be doing, do you think?
I'd be coaching, but not. I'd be coaching a sport or being a
Think so.
general
Okay.
manager of a sports team.
Okay.
Uh, my love for sports, love for helping, love for seeing talent where no one else sees it, and putting
Mm.
them in best spot to succeed. I mean, I coached, hockey. I coached
Oh, wow.
softball and baseball, right? And the key is creating lineups or putting people in position where it showed off their strengths. And so if you think about that in the world of sports, if you create the perfect lineup, complementary lineup that puts people in a situation to succeed, um, that's where I think I'd be best utilized. I almost think it would be in the world of baseball because the baseball IQ is I could care if you're 0 for 3 and you're coming up to the plate. If you get a hit with a runner on second, so you're batting 250 and you hit a single, I'm happy, right? Because you were clutch. So your batting average says 250, but in my mind, it's 1,000 because you got the hit when it would count at most. You want people who have who rise to the occasion, right? Put them in a situation to have success.
I think you're fantastic. My fellow Yankee fans may not like this approach because we're going through some struggles right now. But I love this, man. But Bill, thanks for jumping in, brother. This has been fantastic. If you don't mind, just let everybody know where they can find your work outside of the link that we talked about earlier. How can they find you, man? And what do you want to say to the people who are thinking about getting some help with their goal of being debt free, finance management, taxes, things of that nature? Feel free to go ahead and tackle both, man.
So, first of all, just go to the show notes and find me and make an appointment. It's complimentary. Let's take an assessment of where you are. There's no judgment. I've seen it all. Since 1991, there is no situation I have not seen. So if I've already seen it and tackled that situation and helped people, I know I can help you and create your best version. Instead of retiring here, you retire here. Now, I know I'm not a genius when I say most people will choose this over this. So inaction is this, action is this. So give yourself an opportunity so you're not a burden to your children and your parents are not a burden to you. Let's get a game plan happening and rolling so everyone can have a positive end outcome.
I love it, brother. Thank you so much for being here, man. This was a fantastic conversation. If you guys are watching and listening, or you catching the replay, pardon me, excuse me, please let Bill know that you heard about his work and his expertise from this show, so he knows kind of how to track it, where it happened at. But just let him know you found him on one-on-one, Mr. U. So I appreciate you doing that part. But Bill, thanks again for jumping in here, man. This has been a fun conversation. Look forward to hearing some great things, some great testimonials of people who got some help from you, man, and it's because they heard this show. So I'm pretty excited about that taking place. And Bill Walters and Mr. U, we're out of here. Have a fantastic day. Thanks again for listening and watching One on One with Mr. U.